I want to talk to Jamie calling in from Texas. Pronouns are he, him. And he's got a comment about going from online fantasy to reality. Jamie, you're on live. What's up?
Hi, I'm going to embarrass myself in front of the entire audience. So
I do it every Thursday, buddy. It's okay.
Yeah. So I did actually call in talking about fantasies in the online realm and virtual reality a few weeks ago, and I'm all for it.
Yes, I remember talking to you. We're talking about the VR, right?
Okay.
Yeah, but here's the cautionary tale that comes along with it.
All right.
So I met my now ex-wife through online chats, and we courted for a long while and became familiar with each other and shared a lot of fantasy rights, like role-play and writing, and she was very much into BDSM. Now, at the time, I was a virgin. In fact, she's the only woman I've ever been with. But I'd watched pornography, I'd read things, I could imagine stuff. I'm a good writer. So I was able to pick things up. I did a bit of research. I learned terminology. I learned proper the proper etiquettes and stuff like that. All kinds of weird stuff as well, like stuff that was not really my bag and not really hers either. But I wanted to sort of immerse myself in it so I could be a better partner for her. Yeah. However, and she was a submissive, so I was topping her, and I was comfortable doing it in this realm of fantasy. However, when I moved over, I mean, we saw each other a couple of times, and had sex, and it was great. Of course, I was inexperienced but enthusiastic. But we didn't get into any BDSM stuff because it was short visits, etc. And she lived in Texas, and I lived in England at the time. So when it came to moving over there, I didn't really know where to start. She had vast amounts of previous experience and kind of expected me to just start getting into it. And I found myself unable to really get into it too much straight away. And unfortunately, not to externalize the blame or anything, because I wasn't immediately commanding and immediately sort of masterful, because I just moved country and I didn't have a job, and she was the sort of breadwinner of the family, and I was a bit unsure. And this is my first full proper relationship. She got very disappointed that I wasn't willing. I wasn't taking the initiative. And it was one of the things that kind of soured the relationship over time, because the more she got annoyed with me, the more aggressive she got, the more angry she got, and the less I felt like I could do anything. Kind of like, how do you dominate someone in the bedroom when they are constantly like, I'm the head of the household, you do what I say, because I can't trust you, And so, yes, that's my sort of embarrassing story, is that because and it kind of soured me on it. Not that I think it's a bad thing, and people are happy to, absolutely do what makes you happy. But I'd oxymoronically have to be guided into being a top or a dom, because I've been burned so badly trying to do it in real life. So that's sort of my sort of horror story caveat to, and why I was saying in my previous call, be certain of what you're into and be certain of who you're talking to, and that they're not, because she was saying, I understand this is your first relationship, we can take it slowly, and she wasn't at all.
Sure. Yeah, topping from the bottom is never an effective dynamic and can lead to a lot of heartbreak. But Nate, what were you saying?
I think a lot of the blame here lies in this whole notion of traditional gender roles, where the man has to be the breadwinner and the man has to be in control of the household. And if he's not, well, then he feels emasculated in the bedroom, and then he's not able to play that role, which I think is completely, absolutely unfair. My partner and I have a pretty decent, equal relationship outside of the bedroom, but inside the bedroom, he's definitely on the bottom, and that's where he likes to be. But Yeah, I think definitely a part of that problem is these expectations that men have, or perhaps that the world has of men. Jamie, do you think that has something to do with it?
Not entirely. In that, I think it was the fact that it wasn't the man-woman dynamic. It was the fact that she had been. She was a very commanding person, and she didn't trust people to do. She'd had a lot of trauma in her past, which I won't go into, even though it's almost certain she won't hear this. I will not go into the reasons why, but she had a lot of trauma in her past, which meant that she had trust and abandonment issues. I was the dumb guy who thought I could be the one to fix someone, but you can't fix anyone. People can only fix themselves. She wanted someone who was almost a paternal figure, like someone to take care of her. And when you have no job, no power, and she had all the power in the relationship, at least until such time as it turned out that she didn't. My entire life, my citizenship in America, my home, my life, everything was at her whim. If she decided she didn't want to do it anymore, she could just go, right, off you go. It would have no effect on her. Right. But I would be stranded a continent away. So
that's a tough setup.
Things were coming up. Yeah.
Jason, what did you have to say?
Well, I think you're kind of answering your own question, bud. It may not even be the top-bottom dynamic thing. It might have just been your situation at life at the time. And I mean, I don't know, because I'm very top, and I've been recently within my relationship trying out not being top, and my partner's highly submissive, but they've also been trying out being top stuff. And it's interesting switching those roles, and I can understand the discomfort. But at the same time, I've also been in situations, because I'm always top. I'm super dominant in the bedroom. But I've been in situations to where maybe my job situation wasn't the best, my social standing wasn't the best, and my partner at the time was responding very negatively toward me, because I wasn't top in every situation in life. So I've had that happen with me as well. And that's understandable. And I think maybe if you get yourself in a better situation to where you feel okay, I've got my own shit going, I don't really have to rely on anybody any more than we normally do just as social creatures, right? Then maybe try that dynamic out again. I mean, so you try something, and then maybe you realize, oh, actually, I prefer for there to be a 50-50 dynamic, or maybe I would rather be submissive. I don't know. It's worth trying. All you can do is just get a little more experience. Yeah.
And to talk further on a point that you were bringing up before the calls were coming in, I'm happy to have a solo sexuality right now and be comfortable in who I am. Of course, when it all fell apart, I was burned quite badly, and I'm not looking for another romantic partner right now. So when my mum says there's plenty more fish in the sea, and I say, Mum, my rod and tackle box are firmly put away right now. So right now, thank you very much. But yeah, I will try and make sure that I'm comfortable with the person before I start exploring anything of that nature. I think, and it wasn't really a question. I just thought the topic is BDSM. I have this experience, maybe as a cautionary tale or a springboard for conversation.
Sure. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of intimacy that goes into kink, most forms of kink and BDSM. I'm not going to say that is a necessary ingredient. There are certainly environments where that isn't the case, but even in those situations, there has to be some form of institutional trust. Even if you are not necessarily feeling particularly intimate and close to the person who's tying you up, you need to have them tie you up in a context and in an environment where you know that you're safe, where you know that somebody will intervene if something dangerous happens. And I would just encourage everybody to really take that safety seriously, not just their physical safety, but much more so that emotional and mental safety, because even if nothing bad happens to your body, there's a reason why we tie people up. It's a very extreme emotional experience, or it certainly can be. And that's something we got to take seriously.